In this lesson, lesson 5.3, our essential question is, please repeat after me, when do you regroup in subtraction? All right, so we have talked about regrouping when we have an addition problem, and when we have 10 ones or more, we would regroup them, the 10 ones, for a 10. In subtraction, we do the opposite to regroup. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some base 10 blocks, and I have some of my homemade base 10 blocks, and I've got some real 10 blocks here, and we're going to use those to solve this first word problem. So listen carefully as I read the word problem, and I want you to think about what is going on at the beginning, middle, and end of this story. Michelle counted 21 butterflies in her garden. Then 7 butterflies flew away. How many butterflies were still in her garden? So if we think about the beginning of this story, we know that Michelle had 21 butterflies, and we know that 7 flew away. So will we be adding or subtracting the 7? That's right, we will be subtracting the 7. And what we're trying to find is how many butterflies were still in her garden. So what we're going to do is we're going to model this problem with our blocks. So we're going to start with the 21 butterflies that were in Michelle's garden to start with. So to make 21, we're going to lay down 2 10s and 1 1. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to go ahead and make that picture or make that model of 21. So next, we're going to take away 7. So we're not going to place 7 more on here because we're not adding the 7 butterflies, but we're taking 7 butterflies from the 21. Well, if we look at our ones, it is going to be impossible to take 7 from our ones because we only have 1 1. So this would be a time that we would need to regroup because we want to subtract 7 ones. So we're going to take this 10 and we're going to regroup this 10 as ones. How many ones does 110 equal? That's right, 10 ones. So I'm going to take 10 ones and put them down here. You can pause the video to do this yourself. So I have put 10 ones in the bottom 10 frame, and I'm going to replace it, those 10 ones, for the 10 that I had here. So we still have 21, but we have just regrouped that 10 to make enough ones in order to take 7 ones away. So we're going to go ahead now because now we have enough to take 7 ones. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you look, we now have 110 and we have 4 ones. So that number is 14. So we know that there are 14 butterflies still left in Michelle's garden. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to do that with your blocks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to model this problem with a quick picture to show what we just did with our model of base 10 blocks. So again, we started with 21. So we're going to draw 2 10s and 1 1 for our 21 that Michelle had 21 butterflies to start with in her garden. Then we know that we don't have enough ones to take away 7 ones. So we're going to show that we take a 10. So I'm going to circle one of the 10s. I'm going to mark it out and draw this arrow over here because I'm going to replace that 10 with 10 ones. Go ahead and pause the video and show that you regrouped 110 for 10 ones. All right, so now I'm ready to go ahead and show in my picture that we took 7 ones away. So we're just going to mark out 7 ones. Go ahead and pause the video and mark out your 7 ones. And now if you look at the end, we have 1 10 left and we have 4 ones. So again, we have 14 butterflies left in the garden. So what I want you to do now is I want you to think about describing why you traded a 10s block for 10s ones. Why did we trade a 10 block for 10 ones? Go ahead and think about that. All right, so you should have come up with that we traded a tens block for 10 ones because we didn't have enough ones in order to take away the 7 ones. Oops. So that's what we're going to be doing in this lesson. So you can go ahead and turn the page to page 330. So on this page, we are going to be looking at several different subtraction problems. First, we are looking at this model problem. How do you subtract 26 from 53? So we talked about this in class, that we know that if we are subtracting 26 from 53, that we're going to start with 53. So the first step is to show the 53, and they have showed that for us by placing 5 tens and 3 ones in the into the place value chart. And our first step includes us asking, are there enough ones to subtract 6? Because 26 is what we are subtracting, and we know that we're going to subtract the ones first, and 26 has 6 ones. So do we have enough ones in 53 to subtract 6 ones? The answer is no, so we're going to trace that. So what we're going to do, since we don't have enough ones to take away 6 ones, is we're going to trade a 10 for 10 ones, and they have done that for us. Again, in this model, we took a 10, and I'm going to actually mark that out like we did in class, and we have 10 ones in place of that 10. So we still have 53, it's just a different way to show 53 with 4 tens and 13 ones. All right, so our next step is actually going to be to subtract the 6 ones. So over here, we're subtracting 6 ones from the 13 ones. So they went ahead and marked that for us. I'm going to mark them out like so. And if we look, how many ones do we have left? We have 4, 5, 6, 7. And in the last step, they showed that we have 7 ones left. And then our next step, and we have 4 tens because they took that one away. Our next step is to subtract the tens. So if you look, 26 has 2 tens that we're going to subtract. So we are going to show that we subtracted 2 tens, and now we need to see that we have 2 tens left over. So 2 tens and 7 ones is 27. So if we subtract 26 from 53, that equals 27. All right, we're going to do one more problem together. First, our first step, it asks us to draw to show the number we're starting with, but they have already done that by putting the quick picture in the book for us. So we are subtracting 13 from 41. So we're starting with 41, and this 13, and I like to put a box around it or circle it so I remember and I keep my eye on the number that I'm subtracting. I'm subtracting 13. So our first step is to subtract the ones. So we have 3 ones that we need to take away. So if we go down and look at our model of 41, do we have enough ones to take 3 ones? No, we do not. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to regroup a 10. So we're going to circle a 10 and mark it out. And we're going to regroup that 10 as 10 ones. And I like to put it down here in the other 10 frame, just so I can make sure that I am counting out 10 ones in place of that 10. And it doesn't include the 1 that was from the 41. All right, so now I'm ready to subtract my 3 ones. So I'm going to mark out 3 ones. If you need to pause the video to do any of this, please do so. And then I need to count how many ones I have left after I subtracted the 3 ones. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't want to forget the one up there. So we have 8 ones. So are we finished? No, we haven't subtracted all of the 13. We need to now subtract the tens place. And of course, that's only if there is a tens place. And there is. There is 1, 10, and 13. So we're going to go back over here to our tens. This 10 was regrouped as 10 ones, so that is not the 10 that we're subtracting. We're going to subtract one of these 10s that we have remaining. And if you look, how many 10s do we have left? We have 2 10s remaining. So 2 10s and 8 ones equals 28. Therefore, 41 minus 13 equals 28. You may go ahead and do your quick check problems. I'll be around to check those, and then you can move on to the on your own.